I beg your pardon?
No, we can't hear you.
This is Tom Pettit, NBC News, at Dallas Police Headquarters.
You've shot outside.
You never know what someone's capable of doing, even the people closest to you.
Oswald has been held here under maximum security.
Oh, I know things, but I've kept them a secret for 50 years.
Some indications that his life might be endangered.
I wasn't called Miss Excitement for nothing.
Okay, here we go.
There is Lee.
I know why Jack did what he did, and I've decided that I need to tell my side of the story. Last night my back was kind of hurt. My grandson said, well, maybe you ought to get up in the morning, Nana, and do some warm-up exercise. I said, honey, what you see me do tomorrow night, that's gonna be my warm-up exercise. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I've got my shoes in here, and I've got a magnifying lighted mirror to put my false eyelashes on with. And I've got my spray net, my throw-together makeshift costume, because it's been 50 years since I've really performed. Back then, I had a gay boy that made my costumes. This one was taken in Oklahoma City in the club I was working in. You know, my grandmother said everything old becomes new again, which my profession has become new. I'm waiting for me to get new again. Tonight's the big night. I'm going back on stage for the first time in 50 years. I've been invited to appear at the Texas Theater, and I haven't been there since Oswald was captured there.
And we have had one report that Dallas police have picked up a 24-year-old suspect as the possible killer.
There's no further report on who the suspect is or his reasons for killing the president.
It's kind of deja vu, isn't it? It's just kind of a little weird. Is the limo out there yet? Here's your napkin. This is my ex-husband. We've been divorced 50 years, and I can't get rid of him either. I shot at him a few times. I wasn't trying to hurt him. I just wanted to run him off. But I'm gonna tell you, when I pulled out the gun, all I saw was asshole and heels, because he took off. Are you ready?
That's what Nana looked like when she was just starting out.
Going back on stage is really great. It brings back a lot of memories. For the first time in 50 years, I'm telling my story. Okay. Bye, everybody. I am an old stripper. Back then, strip tease being the key word here, what they do today would have been illegal back then. It was upscale. You couldn't touch the customers. They were not allowed to touch you. They couldn't give us money while we were on stage. Burlesque was more like vaudeville or variety show type. And it was a lot classier than what goes on today. The girls had costumes made. They wore beautiful gowns, and we had live music. Burlesque is like a family. Some of the big stars back then were like Betty Page and Tempest Storm. And my favorite stripper, I saw a picture of her when I was a teenager. Her name was Lily Christine, and I loved her. Those were some of the big stars when I started. And then along came Tammi True and knocked them all out of business, honey. My name is Tammi True, and I know what to do for you. I was a dancer, a stripper, and a comedian, all in one show. I did striptease with tongue in cheek, and I did some pretty raunchy things. I did this half split, and then I'd look back up, and I'd say, is that stretching a good thing too far? When I take my clothes off, I made it funny. I had a lot of fun doing it. In the 60s, downtown Dallas was wonderful. There were clubs, there were high-class clubs, there were hotels. All the hotels had big showrooms. It was alive. It was bustling, not anything like it is now. We had a lot of conventions in town, and there were a lot of rich people, and we had our local gangsters and hookers. There was a lot of criminal activity, but high-class criminal activity, if there is such a thing. The nightlife of Dallas was the who's who. And one night, I would perform for a high-ranking official or a criminal. And it paid to know who the gangsters were. You know, you didn't want to do anything to make them mad at you. And they became my friends right away, because I didn't want any trouble with any of those bad people. It's not like Dallas was like Chicago or New Orleans. People overlook the Dallas underworld as small time, but events would prove them all wrong.
He's been shot. He's been shot.
If I'd known that I was going to be a part of history, trust me, I would have paid a lot better attention to what was going on. So now, after 50 years, I think it's time to do something about that. I've decided to go back to the places and the people from my past and finally put some of these ghosts to rest. Back in the 60s, if you wanted to hang out with the mob, Joe Campisi's restaurant was the place to go. Campisi's is still a landmark today, and now that Joe has passed away, his son Corky has taken over the business. Hello, sweetie.
Good to see you, darling.
You're a hard
It's
man.
Nice meeting you, darling.
You're a hard man to pin down.
Oh, I know. Stay on the run, like my daddy was.
Yeah, I know. When I was going to Campisi's, Corky was just 14. Well, this was the only place I would stand in line to get into, I will tell you that.
Many a time.
Yeah, and you've kept everything just like it was. Those doors are the same, and when you
Booths.
walk in, it's dark. You know, that used to take you a minute to look and see which gangsters were here today, and where was Joe sitting. Yeah. Joe Campisi was a larger-than-life character. His restaurant was a magnet for the Dallas underworld and all those people who came along with it.
Some ghosts up there.
Oh, Lord, if walls could talk.
Them were the good people. They ain't no more like them.
Oh, no, except there were a few assholes that we didn't like, but
Oh, yeah.
you know, we had a community back then of respect
You know, everybody did their own thing. If you were a bootlegger, nobody bothered you. If you was a gambler, nobody bothered you.
Yeah.
Everybody stayed in their own situation.
And there was honor among thieves
Absolutely.
back then. I mean, everybody showed respect for each other
Exactly.
back then.
Yes, ma'am.
Whatever else was happening in the country, Dallas was detached. 1960 was a great time in Dallas. The Eisenhower years were over, and a new decade was bringing about the voice of a new generation. Isn't it strange how people, places, and the times cross paths and put me in the front row seat for that turning point in time?
Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans disciplined by a hard and bitter peace and unwilling to witness the slow undoing of those human rights to which this nation has always been committed and to which we are committed today at home and around the world. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
I came into this world as a mistake. I was born Nancy Monell Boland to a 16-year-old mother. She got married about 3 months before I was born, so I had a stepfather. And my mother was a real bad drunk. She would take me every day to the neighborhood bar, and we'd sit up there all day with her drinking. And guys, played jukebox, and I'd get up and dance, and they'd give me money. And so I guess I come by this natural, I don't know. My mother and stepfather divorced right after he came back from World War II. So my grandmother basically had to raise me. And she became a Catholic convert, so she was pretty strict. Then I was in Catholic boarding school for 4 years because my mother had gotten so bad that I was just kind of running amok. And came home when I was 12. I went to public schools in junior high. I was really a good student, except when I got in junior high with all those boys, playing football and having letter sweaters and, and I'm like, da-da-da-da. And I just started goofing off. That's when my grandma started getting really tough. I'd ask her to do something, and she'd say no. And I'm like, why? And she'd say, because I said so. That drove me crazy. She was like suppressing me, and I was getting angry. And I just decided I'd go whether she liked it or not. I'd run off and stay gone a day or two, and they'd call the police. Then I met a young man that was in the Air Force when I was about 14. He was a good Catholic boy from Ohio. So I took him home and introduced him to my grandmother, and she just fell in love with him. He liked to dance, so we started going to clubs. I liked fashion, and I liked wearing clothes that caught your eye. And nobody missed me when I went out, that's for damn sure. Ooh, yeah, that got me in a little trouble. When I was 17, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I married an asshole by the name of Cecil. He was 24, and I thought it was my knight in shining armor. Little did I know, he was my downfall. Cecil was the best safecracker in town, and everybody knew it. He was the go-to guy. He belonged to the underworld, a criminal element, so I thought that was extremely exciting. He'd go out and do a job, and he'd have a bunch of money, and then he wanted to blow and go, and until the money was all gone, and then we were broke. Then I had my first daughter, and I figured out after I had her that life was not going to be very good with her father. In the 60s, I remember you could turn on the TV and see the Kennedys. JFK and Jackie playing with Caroline and John John. They were young and they looked like what a family was supposed to look like. I wanted that for my family, for Cecil and my girls. This was my attempt at a normal life, and if we were going to do it, we were going to do it my way. But Cecil had a real problem with that.
Why are you never home? That's what I want to know. Why are you never home?
What do you mean never home? I'm here now, aren't I?
Yeah.
What am I doing? Right here. I'm here with you.
After I was pregnant with my second child, life with Cecil was going nowhere.
I can't do this.
You do this. I do what I know, okay? I do what I know. I do the best I can.
I don't get you. I don't get why you keep doing this.
My light bulb had been flickering for a while, and all of a sudden that damn thing just came on full force. And I'm like, I need to do something better with my life. I was afraid to be by myself and be single with 2 children to raise. So I just realized I'm doing it by myself anyway, so what in the hell do I need you for?
Get out. No, please, go. My life is so people in here.
Leave and don't come back. And he got in the car and he started backing out. And I'm out on the porch giving him, and he's laughing at me.
You come back then.
So he didn't come back.
Take your crap with you.
With Cecil out of the way, it was time to make a fresh start. I thought taking a business course, secretary or something, make a lot of money. Well, that job didn't pay very much. I mean, I'm working in an office for $35 a week. 2 kids and earning $35 a week is not a hell of a lot of money. So working as a secretary wasn't an option. Then one night I was out dancing, and one of the guys I was with just all of a sudden just out and said it.
You know what? You would make a great stripper.
Right.
When I found out what I could make, just for taking my clothes off, which I'd already done for Cecil. You know when you get married, you get naked, right? And I damn sure didn't get paid for it. Get on the stage, get naked, and make some money. In other words, do whatever you need to do to take care of your babies. I've done a lot of crazy stuff because I'm not very shy. One night a guy threw his hotel key up on the stage while I was dancing. And I reached out and picked it up and I said, okay, but if I'm not there in 30 minutes, you go ahead and start without me. And then I turned back around, he had a $100 bill stuck to his forehead. What are you doing when you get off? I said, well, you know what? I'd love to go with you, but I don't have $99.75 in change. Tonight, I'm a special guest performer with the Ruby Review at the Texas Theater. These are all young girls, and they're bringing back old-time burlesque. I get to dance because I'm a legend. I said, man, if I knew somebody that wanted to see an old 73-year-old woman's hanging baskets, man, my salary just went way up. I work really good with the saxophone. Just lay it on me, baby. I like that.
We can do that all night long.
Okay, that's good. We're gonna be we may even get a gig together. Let's see if I can get off this stage without falling busting my ass.
Are you ready to get ready?
Yeah, I got the band going, and I'm getting ready to do my makeup, baby. Oh, man, all those wrinkles. Just because you quit doesn't mean you forget. When you've danced as long as I have, I don't really think about it. I just do it. But it wasn't always like that. When I started dancing, I was around 20 years old. I had a friend that was egging me on, and she said she could make me a costume, and I could do it. She was all excited, and so we gave it a shot. This guy came over to show me how to do some bumps and grinds because I had no idea how to do it. And at first I was, a little bit worried about it because actually I was pretty modest, but I did it. So I'm like, well, I don't know how my grandmother's gonna take this. Anyway, I went in and I said, Mama, I think I'm gonna be a stripper. And she looked at me and she said, it's not against the law, is it? And I said, no. She said, well, then have at it. So I had the dress, I had the moves, and all I needed was a name.
Please tell me do, and tell me true.
Oh my God, it's Tammi True. I needed a name that was different, but not too raunchy. And then that movie came out, Tammy Tell Me True.
Oh, well, I think you mistook me. My name is Tammy Tyree.
Sandra Dee was a real goody-goody back then. And the movie was about a young girl that lived in the swamp in a trailer and had a goat.
More likely Pete's took to comparing me with some of them college-type girls.
She's looking pretty good for a poor girl.
And he realizes how funny peculiar I am.
She was real sweet, innocent, and all that, not anything like me.
Oh, Tom, I am a woman fully grown.
And my friend said, well, why don't you call yourself Tammi True? I took goody-goody two-shoes and turned her into a stripper. The first job I had was at the Skyliner Ballroom in Fort Worth out on Jacksboro Highway. In the beginning, I was just hoping I didn't get out there and fall down or my zipper would get stuck and I couldn't get out of my costume. Also, I would stand backstage while the other girls were performing and I would peek out. I'd get little ideas here and there, and see somebody do something I thought was kind of cool, and then I'd kind of make it my own. I started getting my glam. I didn't care whether I was the best or not. I just wanted to be entertaining. And you're very desirable when you're up on the stage. I always said, if I move fast and it's dark, I still look pretty damn good. Pretty soon, I was making a name for myself, and the word got around, even as far as Dallas. Then I got the call that changed my life forever. It was none other than Mr. Jack Ruby. He wanted to hire me to dance 7 days a week at his new club in Dallas. is an old strippers reunion. 50 years ago, Joy Dale and I worked together at the Carousel Club. I haven't seen her in a long time. And girl, it's been such a long time. You haven't changed any. I know you anywhere.
You too.
Yeah, well, we're old and fat, but I know you
ain't that fat. This is fat. I have some pictures here, Tammy, that no one but my husband and myself has seen these. A lot of them will surprise you.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that great?
This would be Mr. Jack Ruby. Makes me feel like I'm 25 again and...
No time at all.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to do my show. My memories of working at the Carousel are really good. I don't have any bad memories. My life was good, things were going well. Loved my job. Loved Jack. It was great.
Bob, I placed that order at Chimia this afternoon about 5:30.
I truly remember that my audition for Jack Ruby was very short.
I'm Tammi True. I start work here tonight.
I'm Jack Ruby. Welcome to the Carousel Club. You go on tonight after Little Lynn. Dressing room's in the back. Just make sure you get your music to the band.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Jack. He just did a lot of stuff like that, spur of the moment. But the only thing about that is I was good. I was one of his better decisions. The Carousel was a small and intimate club. We were right across the street from the Adolphus Hotel, so we got a lot of people from out of town, and it was a nice club, and the clientele was very nice. I made great friends there. Along with Joy, there was Diana the Huntress and Little Lynn, who lived in Fort Worth like I did. We were like a family.
This is the one I was laughing about. I must have fell.
Yeah, it looked like your ass was hanging off of the stage.
Damn near.
It looked like you almost fell in the audience.
Is that you?
I believe it is. I think that was my old-fashioned girl costume, that green velvet one.
Yeah.
Looks like I took my hair off. Yeah, there's another me. That's Miss True doing her squats. I'd been working for Jack for a couple of months when things got a lot better. Back when I was working at the Skyliner in Fort Worth, I had filed a lawsuit against the owner. We had an argument before I went on stage. And then during my act, he turned the spotlight out on me. And of course, some guy reached out and pinched my butt. That really pissed me off.
Guy just grabbed my butt.
Oh, relax. Why don't you go on back out there? It's fine.
Don't touch me, fine?
It's fine, yeah.
We'll see about that.
So I just sued his ass for $150,000. And then the next thing I knew, they had my picture in the New York Mirror. I didn't really say anything, and then somebody showed it to Jack and told him about it.
Tammy, is that you?
And he got all excited, and he came back there. Well, why didn't you tell me about this?
Why didn't you tell me you were famous?
Oh my God, is this the New York Mirror?
Well, from now on.
Oh, no. He said, no, I'm making you the star of the show. You're going to be my headliner from now on. I said, okay. Now that I was a headliner at the Carousel, Jack started introducing me to people in his world. Ralph Paul was Jack's best friend and under-the-table financier. He was 20 years older than Jack, but that didn't stop him from asking me out. He would take me out to dinner and took me on trips to New York. Now that I was dating his best friend, I started having a more personal relationship with Jack Ruby. More so than any of the other girls. We were close, real close. He had a lot of respect for me because I wouldn't take anything off of him. Respect was very important to Jack. That probably comes from his old days back in Chicago. I I'm sure being a young Jewish boy in Chicago was hard. And he had to be tough and demand respect, or he's going to get the crap beat out of him. So that's where he learned to fight and became a union solicitor. Of course, that goes without saying, that meant he was working for the mob. Where he grew up, it was hard to escape that. That was Chicago in the 20s, with Al Capone running things. So when Jack arrived in Dallas, he knew a thing or two about garnering respect. You don't automatically get respect from people. You have to demand it from some people. Do you remember Jack?
Sure, I remember him. Back when I was a kid, people come to town, Jack would bring them out to eat, and people come to town, Daddy, it was a friendship deal, business deal. So you go look out for your friends.
Right.
Yeah, Daddy said they'd be in Jack's club, and if some guy was drinking or acting up, my daddy would say, Jack, that guy's acting up. Jack, just throw him out the door.
Right, yeah. You know, he was feisty and a hustler. All the people that knew Jack knew that he ran a tight ship, and they knew that they needed to behave themselves while they were there or they'd be out. When they got ugly and unruly, well, he'd just go over there and jerk them up and push them out the door. He did things like that. People automatically thought he was mean and bad, which everybody's mean and bad if you're, feel threatened. So he was a tough guy, but he wasn't a tough guy. Does that make sense? I mean, he was just tough if he had to be tough. Jack wanted to run a classy downtown club. Class was real important to him. So he decided to go out of town and see if he could find some new girls, and he went to New Orleans. He came back, and he hired a stripper, and her name was Jada.
She's here. She made it.
So he's telling me, oh, I've heard this girl said she is really good.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt you girls to learn from a real class act.
Oh, she had a lot of class.
So she's our headliner tonight.
Excuse me?
You heard me. Now, this is my club, and I make the rules, and I say she headlines.
If she headlines, then I don't perform.
You better get your ass on that stage, or you can get the hell out of my club.
When it was Jada's turn to perform, I came out to watch. I just had to see this classy phenomenon for myself. Then all of a sudden, she reaches down, grabs her G-string, and flashes. And he was going, I said, yeah, Jack. Right. She's got a lot of class. You know how strict the vice were. If a vice had been in there when she pulled that G-string back and flashed, well, they'd have closed us up.
Exactly.
Direct from the Carousel Club, the fabulous Jada.
Jack found out that Jada was not near as classy as he thought she was. But then again, she worked in New Orleans all the time, and they could show a lot more and do a lot more down there and get away with it. Yeah, turned out she didn't have that much class. He was very adamant about all of us being ladies. And in order for us to be ladies, he had some very strict rules. No prostituting out of the club, no drugs. He also had a rule that we be there 30 minutes before showtime. And that was a big one, as I found out.
Where the hell have you been? You're 30 minutes late.
I remember one night when I was went to dinner with some friends, and I was running a little bit late. He was hollering at me, and I was hollering at him, and I said, I just quit.
You can go to hell.
I went to the back and started packing my bag, and I was getting ready to walk out the door.
Sit down.
No.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to yell at you like that.
He was saying, well, I'm sorry, I was worried about you. I'm like, uh-huh. I said, well, you can't talk to me like that, Jack.
Don't leave. You're my best girl.
So after enough begging, I finally agreed to stay. At times, Jack could be hard to deal with. He was hyper, flighty, always running around the club, doing this, doing that. Very seldom was he just low-key, and that turned a lot of people off. He was also very paranoid and was convinced that the other club owners didn't want him to do well, which wasn't true, but when Jack got something in his head, it was hard to change his mind. For all of his hard edges, Jack really was a soft-hearted guy. He had 2 little dogs, and he took them everywhere with him. Especially Sheba, she was his favorite. He had a big heart, and his friends all knew that. I'm a Gemini, and I was truly leading 2 different lives. By day, I would do all the normal things, PTA, bake sales, go to church, and no one in my neighborhood had any idea that I was working as a striptease dancer. It was the best time of my life until the day my 2 worlds collided.
Fort Worth area broadcasters bring you a special description of the arrival of President John F. Kennedy. Mr. and Mrs. Kennedy and their official party began their Texas tour yesterday morning when they departed Washington, but right now, the eyes of Texas and the nation are focused on Dallas.
This brings back so many memories of all those nights I spent in the dressing room, backstage, in the hallway. And of course, I had my favorite girls that I hung out with. Yeah, it was hard work. Yeah, it was hard work. I think everyone has a moment in their life that will define who they will become. For me, it was the week that Kennedy came to Dallas. That weekend made me a legend.
Dallas Police Chief Jesse Curry has told the citizens and visitors that nothing must occur that will be disrespectful or degrading to the president. The tightest possible security measures are in effect. The Secret Service has been on the quiet prowl in Dallas for many days. Nothing is being left to chance where the president's security and safety are concerned.
I'm headed out. I guess I'll see you in a few weeks.
It was Thanksgiving weekend, and I was going to spend the holiday with my daughters. I said goodbye to Jack and closed out.
Give those girls a hug for me.
I wish I'd known that that would be the last time I would talk to Jack.
President's car is now turning onto Elm Street, and it will be only a matter of minutes before he arrives at the trademark speed. I was on Simmons Freeway earlier, and even the freeway was jam-packed with spectators waiting their chance to see the president as he made his way towards the trademark.
I thought it was a joke. I couldn't believe that that could happen.
The latest information, and things are rather confused at this moment, shots definitely were fired at the presidential motorcade as it passed through downtown Dallas. All squads are converging code 3 in the area of Elm and Houston in downtown. There's a tentative description.
I did go to Parkland Hospital. I stood out there with the crowd and waited.
Coming in, we now switch you directly to Parkland Hospital and KBUX News Director Bill Hampton.
The President of the United States is dead.
I was devastated. I just couldn't believe that he was dead. All my life, all the presidents have been old and boring. I really, really liked him. I thought he was a fun president, young. And it was like it couldn't be true. Jack was devastated, as was everybody that lived in Dallas. He could not believe that someone would kill the President of the United States. And he was crushed. By that afternoon, a man was arrested at the Texas Theater. Like a lamb led to slaughter, Lee Harvey Oswald was tried and convicted in the court of public opinion. Everything in Dallas changed. The mood went from devastation to hysteria. By that evening, there were hundreds of reporters in town. The Dallas Police Department had never had to deal with something like this before. They were parading Oswald in front of the cameras, and they were saying, he did it, we caught the guy that did it. And there were a lot of people that would like to have killed him. Jack was devastated. He immediately closed down the club out of respect.
When I went to the club, Jack was, he didn't even acknowledge that I was there.
Yeah.
He was hysterical himself and kept saying that he'd shoot the son of a bitch that did it if he had a chance.
We just couldn't predict the perfect storm that would give Jack the opportunity. And after Oswald was arrested, everyone wanted to know what was going on, and Jack had access. As long as I'd known Jack, he'd been a friend of the Dallas police. There would be uniformed policemen at the Carousel nightly. Yeah, Jack was a mover and a shaker. He always wanted to be where the action was. So from the moment Oswald was in custody, he was on a collision course with destiny. And for the next 3 days, Jack went in and out of the police station like he belonged there. Jack was seen talking to reporters. He was giving them a card and being nice and cultivating and come on up, buy you a drink.
Hey, yeah, I'm friends with all the officials here, so if you need any help with any of the names or anything, you just let me know, okay?
Okay, thanks, buddy.
So wherever the action was, that's where Jack was.
We'll have a statement for you later. The only thing I can tell you right
attending press conferences and asking questions about the investigation.
Think that Oswald character did it?
Don't know, but that's what they're all saying.
Yeah, they just let him go in and out like he belonged there, and they even let him into the press conferences, and there's Jack sitting back in the back. It's plain as day on the TV. And I'm like, what in the hell's he doing there? The more Jack was around it all, the more he got involved. And because of all the hysteria, there was no one there to stop him. Jack was really bothered about how something like this could happen. Other than his rabbi, the only person Jack was talking to was his business partner, Ralph.
I went to those press conferences.
I remember that night. It was after Jack left Camp Easy's. I was with another stripper from the Carousel, Little Lynn. She said she needed to meet up with Jack and get some money. She didn't have a car, so I told her I would drive her to the Carousel. But when we arrived, he wasn't at the club.
Yeah.
Hi, Jack. It's Lynn. You said you'd be here to pick up my check.
I'm sorry, Lynn. I couldn't make it tonight. When do you need it by?
We have to pay bills tomorrow.
Okay. I'll wire it over tomorrow.
Thank you so much, Jack. I'm so sorry to bother you.
Yeah.
Was he there? He said he's gonna wire it to me first thing tomorrow morning.
And that was the moment that changed history. The next morning, Jack woke up and drove downtown to the Western Union. All he brought with him was money to wire and two things he never went anywhere without: his gun and his dog Sheba.
Need the wire $25, please?
All right, sir.
Jack wouldn't have been downtown Sunday morning, except for the fact that he had promised Lynn that he would wire her some money.
That'll be $26.32.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
When Jack left the Western Union, which was just down the street from the Dallas Police headquarters, he saw activity by the ramp. And naturally, he wanted to go see what was going on.
Situation at this hour at Dallas Police headquarters. 24-year-old Lee Oswald, the man accused of assassinating President Kennedy.
I was at home and TV was on, and they were getting ready to bring Oswald out to transfer him to the county jail. Of course, they had to make a big spectacle out of moving Oswald.
There is the prisoner. Do you have anything to say? There's a shot. Oswald has been shot.
As soon as he got shot, I knew it was Jack. I mean, I saw the back and the hat, and I knew it was Jack.
Lee Oswald obviously has been shot. The witnesses around us...
You know, I called Ralph. I said, I think Jack just shot Oswald. You need to turn on the television. And of course, by then, well, they were saying...
Jack Ruby?
Ruby, Carousel Club.
He runs the Carousel Club? He handed me that card the other day. He was in...
What did he say?
He was in the headquarters here.
You know, it was like a shock here with the president, and then bam, you know, a guy I worked for that I knew really well. All of a sudden, he shot the guy that shot the president. It was a mess. I know everybody in the country was shocked and devastated, but when it happens right where you live, then it makes it even worse.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
I've decided to take a very emotional trip to Chicago. and my daughter's gonna go with me. This will be the first time I've seen Jack since I left the club for Thanksgiving. I always wanted to go and say, what in the hell were you thinking, Jack? You know, I'm not sure how I'm gonna feel when I get there, but it's like closure. At least I can go and pay my respects and, you know, say goodbye in a proper way. And my biggest regret about everything was that I never went to see him or tried to talk to him or anything after all this happened. And I had 2 young children, and we didn't need the publicity. I didn't want that.
920 runway 248 taxi northbound Alpha, right turn hotel. Altimeter 2978, 8 is Romeo.
I go back in time, and it's still like a dream. It's hard to believe that all this happened. After Jack shot Oswald, I rode downtown with Ralph to see about getting him a lawyer. There were people all around the jail, and people were hysterical. This car drove by, and it said, "God bless Jack Ruby." In all honesty, there were a lot of people that wanted to do what Jack did. Jack did it because he had the opportunity. He had opportunity, he had his weapon with him. Boom. That afternoon, while Jack was being booked,
"Hey, Jack, you got some more fan mail."
People were sending him telegrams and letters from all over the country.
Jack Rubenstein, care of Dallas City Jail. God bless you for having nerve to do what so many people
You did what many citizens of Dallas would have done, except
thank God there is one man in America who knows how to deal with punks.
In gratitude, stand ready to assist you.
Congratulations, Jack, for your courageous
May
act
God
of
bless
merit.
you. Cecilia Hamilton.
Hooray for you, Jack.
Well, Jack, you finally did it.
I didn't do anything.
You're famous now.
At first, Jack didn't even know that Oswald was dead, so he was thinking, well, they were just gonna give him a slap on the wrist and let him go.
Jack, Jack, Jack.
I didn't do anything wrong.
You always said you wanted to be famous. Well, now you are.
I'm not talking to you.
This is not a coincidence.
He had no clue that what he did, all the people in his world were gonna be turned upside down. First person that visited Jack in jail was Joe Campese, and he took his son, Karki, down there with him.
You know, I was like 10, 12 years old, but I remember that the day we were watching it, as soon as he rushed Oswald, Daddy said, "That's Jack." Decker was a sheriff and was real good friends with my dad. So, and he knew that Jack and them were friends. So I rode down there and I stayed in Decker's office, and Daddy went up and saw Jack.
Joe, boy, am I glad to see you.
What were you thinking?
I was just thinking about Jackie. Poor lady, she didn't need to go through any more. How bad is it?
It's bad, Jack.
Can you help me out?
Yeah. You know what? You just sit tight. Take care of yourself.
And then come back down, everything's fine. I said, "Why'd he do it, Dad?" He told me he did it because of what Jacqueline Kennedy was going through. He felt for her and seeing that little kid.
I can believe that. I don't have any trouble at all believing that. Jack thought he was going to be a hero. And to be fair, he was, but it only lasted one day. After that, he was anything but. The next day, the newspapers were trying to figure out who Jack Ruby really was. To them, he was just some club owner who popped up out of nowhere with a gun. Suddenly, everything in Jack's life became fodder for the press. I knew it wouldn't be too long before reporters would start hounding me, and so I just tried to stay underground and under the radar, and I went out of town to work. But even that wasn't enough. The newspapers put my real name in the paper. I was Nancy Powell, and I worked for Jack Ruby. They gave my real name, and AKA Tammi True. Nobody knew who Tammi True was in the neighborhood, but they knew who Nancy Powell was. So, of course, it was spread everywhere. And everything I've read about the club, it was sleazy, and the girls were sleazy.
Well, there's one thing that says we were a bunch of whores.
I know, yeah. Oh, yeah, they were insinuating that Jack was pimping us out.
My whole world dropped that day. When Jack shot, all of a sudden, I have no job.
It was almost like the end of the world.
That's what I felt.
I did too. It was like, well, what am I going to do now? My secret was out, and there was nothing I could do about it. My kids took a little flack from some of the other kids. Their parents told them that they couldn't play with them anymore because their mother was a stripper. So we talked about that. Of course, they made it sound like it was something nasty. So I took my kids to see a show so they could see what I did, but it was a modified show. I didn't do half of what I actually did when I was doing a real show. Since it was such a high-profile case, Jack got the best lawyer in the country, but that wasn't good enough.
Mel, what am I gonna do?
Jack, bottom line is you're gonna have to plead insanity.
I can't plead insanity. I am not insane.
Listen, be that as it may, I cannot guarantee any kind of a decent outcome. If we plead guilty, you could very well get the death penalty. If you plead not guilty, you're almost definitely going to get the death penalty.
Look, Mel, I did what anybody should have done. I am a patriot.
No, this is not the Old West. Vigilantism is dead. And when you kill a man on national TV, you're going to end up paying for it, okay? And the only question is how much are you going to pay?
From there onward, Jack spent the next couple of years in jail waiting for a fair trial.
I need sleep. I need to go to sleep. I can't sleep in this place. Huh? They're putting something in the food. I know they're putting something in the food. I'm a patriot! Is anybody out there? Are you making me sick?
I'm not feeling too good.
He was vibrant and active. I mean, he just wasn't the kind of person to be locked up. It's kind of like putting a wild animal in a cage.
Is anybody out there?
That's what killed him, I think, was being in jail. With Oswald dead, there was no one to take the blame for the death of the president. The only person left was Jack, so all eyes were on him. It's hard for people to believe that he wasn't involved in the assassination. All the references about the mob in Chicago and all that, all these stories coming out, so people decided that he was connected and that he was told to do it by the mob.
The verdict is, may I have it, Sheriff, please?
And then Jack was sentenced to death.
The jury finds the defendant guilty of murder with malice as charged in the indictment and assess his punishment at death. Signing. Keep your seats, please. There'll be no moving out. Don't let anybody out.
In a way, Jack was the scapegoat of the whole thing. Jack should never have been at the Dallas Police Headquarters. And because no one stopped him, not the police, nor the press, he was able to commit one of the most infamous crimes of the century. After the trial was over, everyone that knew Jack pretty much abandoned him, and that includes me. Jack finally caught a break when his lawyers got an appeal, and the death penalty was lifted. But by that time, it was too late. He was already dying, so. Jack died from cancer at Parkland Hospital. Ironically, the same hospital as JFK and Oswald before him.
Runway 24 right, taxi, route 1. Altimeter is 2978, speed is 0.
Oh, man. Here's Eva. Where's Jax? Oh. January 3rd, 1967. I miss you, Jack, but everything turned out okay. I miss all the good times we had, and you and I arguing about stuff, and I'm so happy that I got to come and say goodbye. I brought you a present, Jack.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, coming up to the stage next, the world-famous dancing girls of the Ruby Review.
So I've had a good life, and my children are very close with me, and I know my kids are going to be devastated when I die. So I've told them, I don't want you to be upset, because I can't think of anything I've ever wanted or anything I've ever wanted to do that I haven't done or had. There's not a lot of people that can say that. I was pretty smart when I was stripping. I wasn't the dumb bimbo blonde that everybody thinks blondes are, and invested in real estate. I hung up the G-string, started a new life, and I never looked back.
Here's to our past, remembering Jack and Carousel.
And finding each other again.
You bet.
All righty. love you.
I love you too, honey.
Let me see if you got any moves, girl.
Oh.
How about a little bumpy bump?
Yeah. Well, I can put my hands on my hip.
Well, put your hands on your hips and do it. You got to listen. At our age, you got to do whatever it takes.
Shake the fat, huh?
Show's got to go on. Being a part of history is not all it's cracked up to be. I've heard all the conspiracy theories, and trust me, you cannot believe everything you hear or read, and words are very powerful.
CIA did it. Lyndon Johnson had something to do with it. He said he had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Castro, the mob.
So do you think that Jack was part of the mob?
No, indeed.
He'd had to be a Jewish mob, right?
Exactly right. No, indeed.
Yeah, well, they tried to pull your daddy in as being part of the mob and all that crap, you know. You know, people ask me that, and I said, I don't know. But in the business we were in, we just happened to know all the...
Exactly right. Guilt by association, what that is. Guilt by association.
Yeah, but then, you know, people that didn't know what our
what
life...
they read, that's all they know.
Yeah, they weren't here. They didn't know us like you and I and your daddy. We were here, and we knew what was the people that were involved, and all except Oswald, and what was going on, and... You know, and that's just the way it was.
Agree.
But people can't believe that. It can't be that simple.
All right, darling. It was a pleasure.
It really was. I'm so glad I got to meet you.
Absolutely, darling.
Isn't that weird?
Yes, ma'am. What a lady, what a lady.
You've been waiting all night. It's finally time. Join me in a huge welcome to Tammi True.
Yeah, these days when I dance, I get a lot of perks because I'm old. Hit it, boys. Here I am, 50 years later, and I'm still stripping. I didn't know bag and sag would be so popular. But I can still do the bumps and grinds, and I've still got muscle control, so. And I guess the audience likes me because I've got guts enough to get out there and do what I do with my hanging baskets and my flabby kneecaps. People always think that I'm not telling what I know. I don't think it's my responsibility to tell everybody everything I know. But I'd like to set the record straight about Jack. And this is a wrap. Now I'm gonna go get me a young guy, and I'm gonna live it up for a whole week. That's about all I can stand, so I'm just, I'm planning on a week.